Welcome to local food TV and radio. I'm your host, Derek Samaras, bringing you the latest news in the world of food. Today we begin with a story out of Europe, where an investigation by the European Commission's Anti-Fraud Office and the Joint Research Center has found that almost half of the honey imported into the European Union is suspected of being adulterated with sugar syrups. The study took 320 samples of imported honey between November of 2021 and February of 2022 and found that 46% of them were fraudulent. The honey from non-European countries is cut with sugar syrups made from rice, wheat, or sugar beet. This is in violation of European regulations, which prohibit any additions to honey. China and Turkey were found to be the main culprits, with 74% and 14 out of 15 honey samples respectively being found fraudulent. All 10 honeys entered via the United Kingdom were marked non-compliant and mixed with imports from Mexico, Ukraine, and Brazil. The consumer group Foodwatch has described the European market as a real sieve, considering the number of fraudulent cases. The influx of low-priced imported honey has left Europe's homegrown beekeepers competing with the fraudulent honey. Nestlé has made a decision to withdraw its Garden Gourmet, meat-free, and Wunda pea-milk brands in the UK and Ireland. This move has caused unease among proponents of plant-based alternatives, but industry analysts suggest more companies may follow suit. While Nestlé has retained its interest in the plant-based sector, the category hasn't lived up to consumer expectations, particularly on taste. Coca-Cola Company is also withdrawing its innocent range of plant-based dairy drinks in the UK, leading some to suggest that the category is ripe for consolidation and failures across the plant protein space. Analysts argue that the category's sales have already subsided, with growth cooling in the US and Canada over the past year. While the market is crowded and over-competitive, Nestlé's decision may open up opportunities for established food manufacturers and startups battling for shelf space. As for Nestlé, the company may need to go back to basics to assess where it wants to be in the plant-based market. It could focus on manufacturing or being an ingredient supplier, or it could develop and nurture a leading proprietary brand. Whether the company chooses the M&A route or waits for a more mature deal remains to be seen. Next, we bring you news of the devastating impact of back-to-back storms that have hit California farms, causing hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. From dairy farms in Tulare to strawberry fields in Salinas, farmers are grappling with flooded crops and fields, impacting their financial stability. California is a vital agricultural hub, responsible for producing over 1/3 of the nation's vegetables and 3/4 of the country's fruits and nuts, with the state being the largest agricultural exporter in the US and the sole exporter of many commodities, such as almonds, artichokes, and dates. This damage threatens the world's food supply. According to AccuWeather, the total damage and economic loss from the intense rounds of moisture in California is estimated to be between $6 billion to $8 billion, on top of the $31 billion to $34 billion estimated from January's storm impacts. While some crops, such as strawberries, are benefiting from the extra moisture, others have been completely wiped out, and livestock and dairy farms are also impacted. The abundance of rain and flooding have been detrimental to crop production and the livelihood of farmers, with grocery prices likely to rise if crop losses or equipment damage worsens. With many farmers still fighting to save their crops and maintain their livelihoods, we will continue to bring updates on this developing situation. In other news, the FDA has proposed a new rule that would allow safe and suitable salt substitutes to be used in foods and beverages giving the industry more flexibility in reducing sodium levels. This proposed rule would affect multiple standards of identity, or SOIs, for various foods and food categories, amending the 80 SOIs that currently specify salt as a required or optional ingredient. According to FDA Commissioner Robert M. Califf, this proposal is another step forward in improving nutrition and reducing chronic diseases by providing manufacturers with another tool to lower the use of sodium in food production. The proposed rule defines salt substitutes as safe and suitable ingredients, or a combination of ingredients that can replace some or all of the salt in a standardized food. This proposed rule is part of the Biden administration's National Strategy on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health, which aims to end hunger and reduce diet-related diseases by 2030. Currently, Americans consume an average of 3,400 milligrams of sodium per day, while the dietary guidelines for Americans recommend consuming less than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. With this proposed rule, the FDA hopes to reduce Americans' sodium intake and lower their risk of hypertension, a leading cause of heart disease and stroke. The FDA will accept comments on the proposed rule for 120 days after its publication in the Federal Register. In local news, a Colorado mushroom farm located just northeast of Alamosa has officially gone out of business due to a lawsuit from the federal government. According to the U.S. District Court filing from September 7th, the farm owes just over $137,000 to the USDA's Mushroom Council. The closing of the business will displace anywhere from 100 to 120 employees, primarily from Guatemala, who have relied on employment at the mushroom farm to stay afloat in the valley. Flora Archuleta, the executive director of the SLV Immigrant Resource Center, says that once the mushroom farm is officially closed, people will have to move out of the valley. Many employees have worked at the farm for more than 30 years and have been dealing with bounced checks and unpaid wages, which are owed to them as a result of both the COVID-19 pandemic and the closure of the mushroom farm. On top of losing their jobs, the majority of the mushroom farm's employees are community members who live at Century Mobile Home Park, where the residents are going through another upheaval from the sale of it. Alamosa County Administrator Ronnie Wisdom anticipates that many of the workers will seek assistance and basic needs, but the human element to it all is what deserves the most attention. The farm's employees make up a vital fabric of the valley, and the economic impact will be hard to ignore. In 2021, the property tax for the mushroom farm's main plot was around $72,000, and how the loss of that property tax will affect the county is yet to be seen. And finally, 1.7 tons of boneless beef chuck have been recalled in 9 states due to E. coli detection. The meat was produced by Elkhorn Valley Packing, a Kansas-based meat packer, and was voluntarily recalled after routine testing revealed the presence of E. coli in a sample of ground beef. The product, which totaled 3,436 pounds and was packed on February 16th, was distributed to establishments including distributors, retailers, restaurants, hotels, and more in Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. The strain of E. coli detected produces a Shiga toxin and is called STEC 0103. Customers have advised to throw out this meat or to return it to the place of purchase. So far, there have been no reports of illnesses related to the recall. Customers with questions about the recall are encouraged to contact Elkhorn Valley Packing at 620-243-3308 or email at dallas@elkhornvalleypacking.com. Well, that's it for this week's news. Thank you for joining us.